Hello everyone, it's Dylan from Yu-Gi-Oh! Everything, and welcome back to another Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains episode review. This time we will be going over our episode 104 thoughts. The first true episode of Season 3, since 103 was a bit of a recap, and I have to say, Season 3 is kicking off incredibly well. My goodness, this episode was so good. If you ever wanted to hear what it would sound like if Suzaku from Code Geass dueled, well, this is the episode for you, since I, in his human form, does not have that comedic joke voice that most of us, I think, thought he was not going to have that voice, and he does have a voice that is a bit more human, that is a bit more normal, and it did remind me a lot of Suzaku from Code Geass, and he was a joy to watch in this episode. Robapi was hilarious, although she did get on my nerves quite a little bit. Very similarly, honestly, to how I got on my nerves early on in the show, and it was absolutely perfect. It was amazing in terms of taste of your own medicine, because the things that I did to Playmaker early on, where I commented on everything and Playmaker would tell him to shut up, it was identical to how Robapi, I think actually Robapi was more over the top than I was even in the early episodes of VRains. So the dynamic there and the parallels between Robapi and I and Playmaker, incredible, and you could tell I was getting a little annoyed. One of the best moments of this episode is when I is doing his first summon, I believe it was a Link summon. He did a Link, a Synchro, and an XYZ, which was awesome. We'll get more into that later on. But as he's XZ summoning and he's doing this awesome chant, this extremely long, drawn-out chant, Robapi says, alright, that's good. You know, you can't have a chant that long. And I is like, don't interrupt me. And that was one of the funniest things because, you know, when a character is doing one of these amazing summoning chants, it was very reminiscent of Arc 5, you're so enthralled in the chant, and even I was like, alright, this is going on for quite a bit, like, this is going to be a really awesome monster, and then I realized it was just a joke, as Robapi cut him short, so that was hilarious. It was a joy to watch these two, and I have to tell you, VRains, to me, is what, like, 2030 is going to look like, where, when I realized that the Soltis androids were human-esque, and they looked like humans, I thought they were going to look like how they looked in the opening, where they look like actual robots, like actual droids, but when they can take on human appearances, man, I was watching this episode with so much, like, anxiety, because I really do feel like this is what's going to happen in a decade in the real world, where you're going to have human-esque robots in mass production just wandering the streets, and I gotta tell you, when that happens, it's going to be, I think, a dark day for humanity. I really do, because you're going to have robots at some point that have the capability of I and Robapi. And I think the realism, again, I've talked about it a lot, the realism of VRains is what has really just drawn me into this show, and I really do love it. But we'll get, more into all that in a little bit. Starting from the beginning, we have I replaying the moment where Lightning said, you have to choose your own path, or the future will come clear to you, or something like that, and I says, I understand what I have to do, or I've chosen my path, and him and Robapi go to the Soltech ship. We then see a scene before the opening where Yusaku and Kusanagi are talking, and Jin Kusanagi somehow, someway, has had his memories of the Lost Incident wiped. A great episode and a great moment for Jin, a character who has been simply tortured for the first 103 episodes of this show, has gotten the greatest relief that he could have possibly gotten, and it's the fact that he is ignorant to his own horrific past. And that is incredible, because honestly, we saw at the beginning of Season 2, yeah, he was making strides in the right direction, but when you go through a traumatic incident like that, unfortunately, you're probably never going to be over it. It's always going to hinder you in some way, and how you overcome it is how you end up living your life. And of course you can overcome it, but even when you're feeling down, those horrific memories of a traumatic event like that, they're always, especially something that lasted 6 freaking months, they're always going to come back, and they affected Jin so badly. But I guess Jin's memories, or his consciousness, was attached to Lightning somehow, because when Lightning used his consciousness data, when he sacrificed it to get 1 life point to end up defeating Revolver, that consciousness data must have been the memories of the Lost Incident. So Jin gets amazing relief. It was a great episode for him. Thank God the boy is not going to be as traumatized as we have seen him in the first 102 episodes. So great for him. Honestly, I don't even know if we're really going to see that much of Jin this season or for the rest of the show, because based on how the preview in 104 looks, or 105, it looks like the heroes of VRains are going to be teaming up, and Jin is not present, but Shoichi is, and Jin's main link to that group is through Shoichi, so if Kusanagi is going to be active in 105, then I don't really think we're going to see too much of Jin, but we'll have to wait and see. So even though Jin didn't appear, great moment for him. It would have been cool to, again, see maybe some interaction between him and his brother, but what are you going to do? Akira Zaizen gets promoted to executive director, and I realized about halfway through why that was the case. They were really pushing that he is now the second biggest name at Soltech. Why? Because the top dog at Soltech is about to go by the wayside. I mean, I knew it the second this duel was announced that Queen was going to lose, and it's going to be a disappointment looking back on it that the chess pieces seemingly are irrelevant. You cannot convince me that the chess pieces, which, again, all showed up in the first episode, or at least Bishop did in the first episode when he talked to Akira, they were, I truly believe, supposed to have a decently big role in this show. And when the directors changed in episode 13, the new director came in and he oversaw everything with Shin Yoshida, and I think they changed the direction just a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh! VRains, where the Soltech chess pieces were not going to be important, because Akira is now above all of them. I think we've seen them once since the director changed, and as Season 2 was going on, I just had a feeling that Queen and these chess pieces, unfortunately, were not going to have that much of a role, and Queen, as we see at the end of the episode, or as we hear, unconscious, in critical condition, I would not be surprised if we do not see Queen the rest of the show. And I hope I'm wrong about that, but just with so many times in Yu-Gi-Oh!, how do you kill off a character without actually killing them? You put them in critical condition in a hospital bed, and that is exactly what happened to Queen. And now that Akira is top dog at Soltech, I don't think we are going to see Queen really all that much. Maybe like the last episode of the show when Akira takes over Soltech for good after Ai is defeated, or something along those lines if they go that route. I do not think we are going to see Queen all that much. So Queen and the chess pieces, we were speculating from the very first episode that they were going to have a pretty major role. Definitely disappointing there. I liked Queen's design. I liked her demeanor. In fact, when I barged into her bedroom, when I and Robapi barged into her bedroom, which, by the way, to get to the bedroom, did they walk through a strip club? There was a scene where it looks like for a brief second you see a woman on a pole in the background, and I'm watching this and I'm like, wait a second, did I and Robapi just go into a strip club? And most likely it's just a pole dancer, it's just a show. I doubt it's, an actual strip club on this high corporate ship. Although, you never know, Soltech, and especially, higher ups in corporations, I don't want to throw the word sleazy around, but you never know. Maybe there are some private strip clubs on these, big corporate ships. But the reason they showed that scene was to show the stage, because that is the stage that Ai takes Queen to, where they duel in his own virtual world. Also interesting there, because Link VRains is not running anymore. Link VRains is closed down for the time being, and what's really interesting there, though, in the preview for 105, we see everyone in their VRains outfits. So maybe Akira can open up the VRains just for the people that, obviously, he's enlisting in to protect him. Basically, he's getting bodyguards in the form of all the VRains heroes to protect him, because we don't know the message that Ai leaves for him at the end, but I'm sure the message is, I'm coming to get you next. I got Queen. I'm going to do exactly to you what I did to Queen, or you can resign or step down or give me control of the company. But Zaizen, Akira, I'm coming for you. Something along those lines. I'm sure we will get that message in the next episode. And we see Yusaku also in the preview very upset, very, I don't want to say like depressed, but clearly a lot to think about, because he's probably been told at this meeting that this is Ai's doing, that Ai has attacked and incapacitated and almost murdered Queen, and Yusaku is obviously very upset about that. Very interesting quote, very beginning of this episode. Shoichi says to Yusaku, you can start your new future. Your new life begins today, because Ai is gone. The past is now truly gone, because now you don't even have any ties to the Lost Incident anymore through Ai. Your new life begins today, much like my brother's does. But it doesn't. Not for Yusaku, at least, because he's going to get dragged right back into this in the very next episode. And, man, the development that he's going to have, especially without Ai to take away a lot of the dialogue that he could have had in those duels, is going to be so fascinating and hopefully so incredible, and I really cannot wait for it. The duel between Ai and Queen, it wasn't anything incredible. It's not going to be one of my favorite VRains duels when it's all said and done. It was just a duel to show off Ai's power, which was a little bit of a disservice to Queen since it was her first duel. But getting back to what I said like 5 minutes ago, when Ai and Robapi busted into Queen's bedroom, which was hilarious, and woke her up, it reminded me a lot of when My Valentine dueled Pegasus. And I believe she went into Pegasus's bedroom as well. And we don't see that duel, but we know that Mai wins. And at that point, of course, Pegasus is a fraction of what he was in Duelist Kingdom, so Mai beats him easily. And I kind of wish Queen got that same treatment, where Queen at least had a chance to be the main villain or an important villain that actually dueled. And then by the time she dueled Ai, it's not that she was a bad duelist. Like, Pegasus wasn't a bad duelist when he dueled Seal of Orichalcos Mai. It's just that at that point, Mai was so much more powerful. And in this point, it could have been that Ai was such a powerful duelist. So I thought they kind of did a disservice to her in general. And again, I do think she's going to be gone the rest of the show, to be completely honest, which is a bit of a disappointment. But Ai wipes the floor with her. Queen does summon Link 3, Golden Allure Queen. So it's cool that she used kind of her own archetype there. She even was able to use a skill in a master duel, much like Bowman did. And of course, she makes the rules, so she can do whatever the hell she wants. And she makes a card. She can add any card in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh, I guess, that is not in her deck. She adds Drowning Mirror Force. She sets it. She tries to play it, but Ai, who has a Lingaribo, which is a monster that's able to sacrifice itself to destroy a trap, is able to get rid of it. Ai also uses an archetype called Ignister, which is awesome. It's all about basically reviving and just spamming the field. He summons a Link 3 version of Decode Talker that, again, looks like a darkened version of Decode. Can't remember the name of it. Dark Templar, that's the name of the Link monster. He summons a Synchro monster, Wind Pegasus, and then he summons a Dragon Xyz monster, I believe a Light monster, Light Dragon. So Dark, Wind, and Light. I'm sure he's got some Fire extra deck monster, maybe a Water extra deck monster, and an Earth extra deck monster. So that'll be something to keep an eye on as his deck progresses and as we see more duels with Ai. But my goodness, Wind Pegasus was able to destroy 2 cards, so he destroyed the 2 spell cards that Queen had. Light Dragon was able to destroy 2 cards, just completely emptied out Queen's field. And when Light Dragon attacked Queen, like, actually got electrocuted. And as this duel was going on, I was starting to feel bad for Queen, but I do want to reiterate that Queen is not a nice person by any means. The things that Queen did, and I like how Ai also said he was doing this to get revenge for Earth, the things that Queen did were horrific to Earth. How she treated Akira, how she treated Go. So she absolutely deserves this. I don't feel bad for her in any way. I more so feel bad at the prospect of her character kind of going down the toilet, because she's not going to live up to that main villain role that she definitely could have been. It's just the show and the writers went a completely different 180 direction, which I am completely fine with. So guys, episode 104, amazing episode. One of my favorites in quite a long time. A great way to kick off this season. And I am so excited to see more Ai, to see more Robapi, and to, of course, hear from all of you down below. A special thank you to my Platinum tier patrons, Alexa Baker, Glen McGookin, Jorge Carrillo, James Rose, Samuel Stark, Thomas Adderley, Horace Maye, Goosey Q, Vincent Van Der Veen, Brian Ford, and Rexkentrix, and to my Diamond tier patrons, Jesse Wood and Garrett Palmer, and to my Egyptian God tier patron, Chris Swan. A huge thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. I really do appreciate it. I cannot tell you how much it helps out the channel. And a thank you to everyone who just watches these videos, because without you guys, I would not be able to do this. I will talk to you all down below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have an amazing day.